A feeling I can't name is rising from a place I'd forgotten. It's the echo of a choice made in another life, in another dark room, and now the door to that room is opening. How strange. I thought I was dead, but strange words blinded my eyes. Please select an option. One shoulder was completely numb, and the spear through my stomach pinned me to the ground. But what was this before my eyes, this text? What did it mean? What was it talking about? Well done. Restart from beginning. Run. To the left. I could hear my subordinates' cries in my ears. It seemed like there were still a few survivors, but not for long. Elder Gu Zhangmayang of the Mount Hua sect, known as the representative of the ultimate martial artist. You only need to scout. The Lord himself will act. An easy mission. I only needed to reconnoiter the surrounding terrain and then return to the sect. I didn't believe a word of it, but I had no choice. All sorts of terrible things waited for those who didn't follow orders. But I didn't think Gu Zhangmayang would be here. Restart from beginning. Continue honestly, I was frustrated. If only there was a chance. No, if only my martial arts were better. In the end, I acted foolishly because I lacked power. Restart from beginning, continue. Restart from save point. Life is so damn hard. Which is why I was unconsciously trying to ignore it. But what are these characters which keep appearing in front of my blurry eyes? What was it trying to say? At that time, I really had no idea. You chose restart from beginning, the start, before the meeting with the Supreme Pavilion Master. Darkness, that was the first thing Seol-hwi noticed after he died. There was just enough light to judge his surroundings, but it was still dark and humid all around. It doesn't seem like the road to the afterlife. The space was less than 100 square meters. There was a bookshelf to the side and a crumbly-looking wall. Right in the middle, there was a hall of about 30 square meters. What? The old training hall? Seol-hwi's brows raised when he saw the white flagstones. They looked familiar upon investigation. He realized it was the practice room at the backside of the main building. How is this? Seol-hwi couldn't help but laugh at the absurd situation. Chinese letter 0, Chinese letter 1, Chinese letter 2, Chinese letter 3, Chinese letter 4, Chinese letter 5, Chinese letter 6, Chinese letter 7, Chinese letter 8, Chinese letter 9, addition, plus subtraction, multiplication. Seol-hwi's mouth clicked shut. Math stuff? I was dead. But now he was alive. He'd ambushed and run through with a spear. He could clearly recall his wounded arm and even the clothes he was wearing. Just like he could remember staying here before that meeting. Was it a dream? No, it was too realistic to be a dream. The sights, the feeling of air in his lungs, even the thoughts in his head, this was beyond realistic. It was safe to say he'd been revived. You're here. Just as he was contemplating how and why he was here, he found a long-haired man walking towards the training hall. Zhangmayang? Seol-hwi's eyes narrowed. The sight made his skin crawl. There was a brief silence, and Qek! Seol-hwi's body bounced back before he noticed. He'd been struck by a fist. My hand slipped. Zhangmayang grinned at him, fist still clenched. You have to say captain, flying faction squad leader. Unlike Seol-hwi's squad of 6, this man led about 100 people, the Black Moon Squad, which reported directly to the Supreme Pavilion. Kak. Seol-hwi was in too much pain to respond. What, beaten after one hit? You think you can treat me like this with the few subordinates you have? Seol-hwi's eyes fluttered. It wasn't just the pain, it was the situation. He'd definitely experienced this before. Hand slipped. Just one hit, cheeky bastard. What, beaten after one hit? One line was missing. So it couldn't be said that the events matched perfectly, but it had started differently last time. It was like, what is going on? If I'm right, the next thing he'll say is, if you don't have skills. Your brain, if you don't have the skills. Learn to use your brain first. What is happening? What the hell was this situation? How could he remember things before they happened? Seol-hwi heaved his hurting body up and bowed politely to the other man. There was no other way to make it stop. The master of the Supreme Pavilion is calling. The same words. Goosebumps rose all over his body. Every word spoken right now matched what he had experienced in the past. What? Can't hear me? I understand. Seol-hwi hurriedly shook his head. In his memories, he got kicked again because of his late reply. And, Zhangmayang interrupted Seol-hwi's sigh of relief. I'll give you a piece of advice. You're lucky. Seol-hwi froze because it differed from his memory. No, strange words hovered over the head of Zhangmayang. That hadn't happened in the past. He belonged to what was known as the Mani sect. In the past, it worshipped Ahura Mazda and sought peace and harmony as much as the Buddha sect. But now, they obeyed the right of might. Few incidents happened in the sect because so long as orders were followed, of course. That excluded people like Seol-hwi. There were some definite advantages of this sect over normal ones. The sect used demonic martial arts. It was known that normal martial artists could rise to first rate after honing their skills for at least a decade, but students of the Mani sect could do it in just 3 years. It was said that quite a few reached the peak of martial arts before the age of 30. However, every light had its shadow. Your lifespan would be reduced. Demonic arts always came with a risk. It was only by sacrificing their lifespan that their growth period could be so short. Other peak martial artists could live till the age of 60, but those of the demonic sect would rarely do so. They were known as Supreme Demon and Extreme Demon. For the Justice faction, they are Entry Realm and Ascended Realm. Squad leader Seol-hwi of the Flying faction is here. Seol-hwi stood before the gate of the Supreme Pavilion and cleared his thoughts. Everything that happened still rattled his mind. Perhaps it was like ripping open the old scars of his painful past. It was difficult to accept this situation. "You may enter." Seol-hwi cautiously moved into the office. The first thing that greeted him was the pungent smell. The next was the painted screens on the left and right of the walls. The 4 gentlemen, the plum blossom, the orchid, the bamboo, and the chrysanthemum. It terrified him to see them in this hellish place. "You're here." Seol-hwi's gaze turned to the front. There sat Xianxia and an old, overweight man. As expected, a member of the Wu Tian Pavilion is also present. This too matched the past. 5 pavilions, including the Supreme Pavilion and Wu Tian Pavilion, were working together. The old man there was the head of Wu Tian Pavilion, one slithery bastard and another loose-handed bastard. Xianxia was as skinny and ugly as he remembered. Just looking at his wide eyes and protruding cheeks made you feel unlucky. Regardless, Seol-hwi bowed. "The squad leader of the Flying faction has arrived by command of the master of the Supreme Pavilion." "This is the one I told you about a while ago, Seol-hwi." "Ho ho, is that so?" The fat man eyed Seol-hwi strangely. He got a good look and rubbed his chin. "Like you said, he seems talented. See how he holds his head high." Seol-hwi immediately slammed his head to the floor. "Please forgive me for the rudeness I have shown. Our Lord asks you to be less formal when entering his office, so? Ha 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 ha. Wu Tian Pavilion Master, please don't be too strict." Xianxia interrupted his apology. His intentions, however, did not match his words. "Wouldn't it be embarrassing if you act like you're interrogating my people? I honestly don't know what to say." "Pavilion Master. Haha, it's no fault of yours, Lord. It's because of that cheeky kid. But it's all because of my poor teaching, hee. I've already seen this once, but it makes my stomach churn. Only 4 days ago, Xianxia told Seol-hwi to simply bow and greet him. But now he was playing games with him. If only knowing what would happen could make the fear vanish. I just need to get through this first. Seol-hwi still didn't understand what was happening. Nevertheless, he followed his memories all for the next words. Enough of that." Xianxia changed the topic. "Do you have any intention of taking over as a worker in the Chenil office?" "Chenil, you wanted to learn martial arts, so I paid special attention to your needs." The Chenil office was located in the 5th hall. Though it didn't have a place for itself, it housed tens of thousands of secret books. That was his bait. It would be an honor, Lord, but Seol-hwi hid his true intentions. Reality or dream, if he acted the same things would progress the same. "I know. However, since this is such a great honor, I was wondering if I should give you a mission along with it." Xianxia waved his hand. The bait was cast, and Xianxia's real intentions were revealed. If he was right, he would bring up the Mount Hua sect. "I have something to tell, huh?" "Well," the 2 old men shot him puzzled looks, but Seol said nothing. Follow the given mission. When Seol-hwi saw that, he could no longer deny that he'd died once before. Receive another mission. It wasn't some lucid dream, but reality. Cut off your right arm and the cursor. Follow the given mission. Receive another mission. Cut off your right arm. Followed his gaze. What the hell could this mean? The text from when he was dying had appeared once again, but the choices were different. Has time frozen? Such thoughts were inevitable. Both pavilion masters stared at him like stone statues. Not only did their movements stop, even their eyes were locked in place. Seol-hwi couldn't move his body either. No, not everything stopped. In the corner, something flicked in and out of vision. 8, 7, 6, he'd seen this before. He was sure these characters were from the he saw when he woke up. Chinese letter 0, Chinese letter 1, Chinese letter 2, Chinese letter 3, Chinese letter 4, Chinese letter 5. Chinese letter 6, Chinese letter 7, Chinese letter 8, Chinese letter 954. This is. Seol-hwi peered at the characters. Intuitively, he realized that the characters in the corner were numbers and time, and they were counting down. 5, 4. The numbers continued to drop, as if demanding he make a choice. A choice? 4, 3. Seol-hwi frantically reread his options. One choice caught his eye. It seemed as if the words he'd said to the old men in the past were an option. Follow the given mission, receive another mission, cut off your right arm, what the hell could? Seol-hwi was thoroughly confused, but he knew two things for certain. 1. He was almost about time to choose, and 2. He had to avoid getting his arm cut off. He certainly didn't want to approach an unknown future without an arm. In the end, his gaze settled on the second option. And time resumed. The darkened surroundings brightened with a flash, and the old men were moving once again. Wow. Seol-hwi clapped his hand over his mouth, but he couldn't stop what he'd said before the choices appeared. Seeing his actions, the fat man clicked his tongue and stroked his long beard. You want another mission? Why? Those words brought Seol-hwi back to reality. In an instant, his body was surrounded by an energy that crushed the breath from his lungs. The flame demonic arts, better known as the bone-melting flame chi skills. I didn't even tell you what kind of mission it was, and you're so arrogant as to ask me for a different one. Seol-hwi couldn't answer. He simply had no reply to offer, so he remained silent. Stop! Huck! Seol-hwi shuddered. A straight blade hovered before his throat had Sama-gwi spoken a little later. It would have pierced his neck. Black secret. She was a vessel who protected Sama-gwi. 100 people like Seol-hwi wouldn't even be able to lay a hand on her. We will hear him out and decide. The woman withdrew her blade. Please don't get me wrong, master. When I said I wanted a different mission, it didn't mean I objected to your choice. Then, I recently heard a rumor that the Mount Hua sect is gathering near the borders of Lanzhou. Hasn't my lord always said that eliminating the Mount Hua sect was our sect's long-cherished goal? And so that was a promising reaction. I want to take that chance. My squad specializes in recon and diversions. If we know when our warriors will be ready, we can move accordingly. Scouting was good. With his skills, he was dead the moment the enemy discovered him. That was what happened in the past when he met the warrior of Mount Hua sect. Wasn't it? He was dead meat. Unfortunately, he knew the pavilion master would have killed him if he tried to take a different mission. Will this be okay? Seol-hwi warily raised his eyes. If things didn't go as he remembered, they'd cut him down where he kneeled. Sama-gwi didn't answer. It was the fat man who spoke. Hu-hu-hu. It seems the information has leaked from the Eagle Sky Pavilion. Otherwise, how would a squad leader know about it? Right. Seol-hwi's eyes widened. It wasn't just his intuition. Eagle Sky Pavilion was one of the higher-ranking pavilions and was responsible for intelligence gathering. That meant his reasoning checked out. Interesting. Well, I was about to give you a mission, but would you be able to handle this? The constricting energy disappeared, but Seol-hwi's gaze was somewhere else. That thing is back. This time he didn't say anything out loud. Life. Addition. 4. He knows the plus character as 10-1, but in this text it meant addition. He was sure of it. This was clearly something he had to know. Life addition 4. He wasn't sure what it was, but it seemed to be related to him, very closely related. After leaving the office, Seol-hwi was walking down a narrow road through the gloomy evening. This road ran through the north side and ended at the dorms where his squad ate and slept. As said, the sect's vice lord himself will act. Before that, we need someone to scout the land, examine the people and topography, then report back. The mission was exactly the same as he remembered. Investigate the land and report back. The lies rolled off Sama-gwi's tongue so naturally. Right, no one is coming for the report. Never mind the vice lord. Not a single captain would appear. He tried his best just to die in vain. Going on a big mission this time? Need to be careful. So why were we near the Supreme Pavilion? Seol-hwi's gaze settled on a person perched on the decorative rocks in the artificial pond, giggling and smiling. Chick-san, a member of the Black Moon, wherever Jiak-myung was, Chick-san would not be far. His arms and legs were left exposed, probably to show off his muscles. Ah, did I interrupt you while you were talking to yourself? Sorry. Well, I couldn't help myself when I heard you. Heh. Seol-hwi was unperturbed. Black Moon's sarcastic attitude was the norm. They mimicked their squad leader. Well, it could have been an order from the master of the Supreme Pavilion, too, but it didn't matter. What, do you have something to say? He was sure he'd met this guy in the same spot last time. He just ignored him because he was scared of what Jiak-myung might do in reply. I have something to check. Check. This time he wouldn't let it go. The words floated above Chick-san's head. Maybe this time he could find a clue. What do you want? Chick-san paced towards Seol-hwi, step, one foot in front of the other, but in the middle of his step. His face contorted, Seol-hwi's whipped into motion. Confused, Chick-san snatched his sword from his waist. Their swords clashed several times, but Chick-san's sword trembled. Too late. You bastard, and that was that. Seol-hwi's sword was half a breath quicker, and stabbed into Chick-san's heart. Quack! Chick-san desperately groped at the sword piercing his chest. His eyes were wide and trembling with disbelief. Why were you watching The Office? Seol-hwi pushed the sword a little deeper. I was hoping to find something in there. I want to get stronger. But I couldn't find anything no matter how much I searched. Quack! Huck! Fuck, this fucking place throws a third-rate martial artist in and tells me to get strong on my own. You want to go where I went? Well, it's less embarrassing since the start is the same. Don't be too shocked, I'll follow you soon. If things went according to his memory, Seol-hwi would die soon, but before that happened, he had something he needed to do. He withdrew his sword and Chick-san's body sank to the ground. Crimson blood stained the ground around the corpse. He's gone. Seol-hwi's eyes narrowed. Something had changed. With Chick-san's death, the words above his head had disappeared. Seol-hwi took a step back and hefted his sword. Life addition. He thought the man might come back to life before his very eyes, but nothing happened. Seol-hwi peered into the placid pond. What is this? Reflected in the pond. He could see the first words over his own head. Coin 2, 2 chances. What? There was a word that had no meaning in this world. It was coin. Name, Seol-hwi. Age, 29. 8th year in the Flying Faction. Your rank in the Heavenly Essence Academy. Heavenly Essence Academy taught the basics within the Demonic Academy, like innate qualities and musculature. Their complex elements such as patience, persistence, and effort are systemized into scores and evaluated. The Academy took in classes of around 1,000 people. I was 12th. What? Officer Du-hong stopped and raised his head. His expression said he couldn't believe such a high-ranked person was in this shabby place. Then he notices Seol-hwi's drooping shoulder. Your right arm, what happened? There was an accident. Accident? Du-hong glanced at the name signed on the letter of recommendation and shook his head. Well, none of my business. Du-hong filled in the paper and no further questions were asked, but Seol-hwi's face was tense. Coincidence or fate, something completely unexpected hovered over Du-hong's head. This is where you will work. Du-hong brought him down to the basement. You'll be responsible for cleaning these books without damaging them. Tens of thousands of volumes were arrayed before his eyes. Books scattered across the floor. Books torn, books everywhere. What, don't want to? Ah, no, Seol-hwi bowed. Don't even think about coming out until you've cleaned all of this. Yes, and... Du-hong remembered something. Yes, officer. If possible, try not to get noticed. If you want to live long, that is. Monsters roam freely here. With that, the man slammed the door shut and disappeared upstairs. Although Seol-hwi's surroundings were dark, his expression wasn't. In fact, his eyes glittered with hope. How strong would his skills be? To get out of here, no, to take revenge, he had to take a life. Even one wrong choice could kill him. No, before that, how could I even win with this body? His right arm was crippled, preventing him from using martial arts. He'd never even tried to use martial arts with his left hand. The Supreme Pavilion and Wu Tian Pavilion must never know. Seol-hwi looked around at the countless books. Most of them were probably military manuals and miscellaneous books of unknown origin. In the basement of Chanil-1, there was no such thing as ascending its 12 floors. I will try again, even if it costs me my life. Shuck. Bookshelves were filled one by one. His movements were slow. He only had one hand, but his eyes were not. Because until now, the books he'd read were only basic stuff. What? Deep flow? He picked up one of the books. The deep flow of something deep. Seol-hwi put it on the shelf without another glance. He'd picked it up thinking it was something extraordinary, but it was entirely ordinary. How much more do I have? He paused and looked back. After several hours of work, there was still a huge amount to clean. He hadn't even figured out how many books were there. But his thoughts turned to just before his death. Save point. Seol-hwi could remember it clearly. Save point and something called storage. That means I can record my life. How do I? Seol-hwi was curious. How did he save? Under what circumstances could he save? No, he chuckled. This isn't the time to save. I can't save at a time when I'm a one-armed bastard. Not this time. This life was a complete mess. Phew. Let's work first. He stood and began stacking books, wincing at the pain in his right shoulder. Shuck, shuck, shuck. White light demonic arts possible. Bare-handed demonic arts not possible. Peak flourishing demonic arts not possible. An unexpected window appeared. This is. Seol-hwi stared. In the pile of books, one book was shining. I can move this time. His body hadn't stopped. Possible, not possible. Did that mean out of the three he could only choose the first one? But how do I choose? Seol-hwi glared intently at the third option, but nothing changed. Normally, the arrow would follow his gaze. Wait. He remembered the first sentence from when the status window appeared. Swipe to unlock. Maybe like this. He slid his gaze to the right, and the options disappeared like a lie. I did it. Gah! Seol-hwi's face instantly fell again. The peak flourishing demonic arts was similar to the flame demonic arts used by the Lord of the Supreme Pavilion. In the past, the former teacher was famous for using it. Though he'd never seen it, Seol-hwi thought of it as an advanced art. It's fine, there are other things. It was unfortunate, but Seol-hwi turned his attention to the first option. He wasn't sure what the white light demonic arts were, but it had to be useful. The text in question was entitled 3 Essences Primary Instruction Manual. It'll work out. He chose the only option he had. Swordsmanship possible. Close combat possible. Footwork possible. Seol-hwi didn't hesitate. He would prefer to learn everything, though. First is swordsmanship. A video, a translucent film was drawn before him. A shadow, not a human, came to life in front of him. No! It wasn't just moving. From the very beginning to the specifics of posture, to the forces and position on the feet, and even the sword technique unfolded naturally. The faintest condensation could be seen emerging from the shadow's mouth as it taught him how to breathe. Everything was laid out, one by one. White light swordsmanship skill table, great sword. Down, down, right arrow, left arrow. B, new, meaningless words and new symbols. On the first day, he decided to learn the movements. Surprisingly, these martial arts worked with just his left arm. Having mastered the swordsmanship, it was much easier to learn close combat and footwork afterwards. When he selected the close combat and footwork sections, the shadow appeared to teach him once again. Its teaching was perfect, even when the text was absolutely unintelligible to him. A week. 7 days passed like this. By then, Seol-hwi could follow the movements in their entirety, albeit a little clumsily. The question is, now whenever he wanted to exercise the swordsmanship technique, the window would pop up. The new symbols clearly had some meaning, but he couldn't figure out what they were. Oh, wait. What if I do it the same way as selecting the options? He looked at the skill sheet and slid his gaze to the right. Forward, back left arrow, top up arrow, bottom down arrow, bottom right down right arrow, bottom left A equals right hand, B equals left hand, C equals right foot, D equals left foot. Seol-hwi immediately compared it to the great sword skill table. It had the same symbols, down, down, right arrow, left arrow, and was B, which meant to use the left hand. Let's try it. He didn't quite understand, but he decided to give it a shot. Surely he could figure it out as he went. Whatever it meant. A month had passed. Seol-hwi's imitations of the shadow were similar, but not perfect. The energy the shadow would unfold was powerful enough to smash through the bookshelves and shatter walls, but in Seol-hwi's attempts the energy would disappear right away. He wasn't even at 30% of what the shadow could do. This strength with my left hand. Despite not using his right hand, the white light demonic arts emitted a profound energy. It would be nice to use the great sword, too. Seol-hwi was constantly looking at the skill table. He couldn't unleash the great sword even after an entire month. But what is this? It seemed like he had the confidence to fight a member now. Well, I need to get back to cleaning. Seol-hwi grumbled at the piles of unorganized books. If weren't for the dusty corner, he could have been done even sooner than expected. Let's see if I've missed anything. He walked towards the corner table and picked up a book of martial arts. He was interrupted by the door opening. Seol-hwi stared at the other person. There was someone here. It was a young man, probably an academy scholar. What now? Seol-hwi couldn't take his eyes off the man. Is there something on my face? The young man tilted his head inquisitively. No way, not 1 but 10. Who was this and what was this mark? Ah, no. Seol-hwi came to his senses and shook his head. Samagwai's guard had 4 lives. Anyone with 10 lives, no matter who, had to be strong. You don't have to be on alert. The young man waved it off with a smile. Contrary to Seol-hwi's expectations, this man seemed innocent and free-spirited. But what do I call you? You can call me Seol-hwi. Ah, yes. But Seol-hwi, what were you doing down here? I was organizing the bookshelves. Ah, so you were cleaning up. The young man nodded. Good, then let me ask you another thing. Please do, Seol-hwi replied. The young man peered around as if looking for something. Have you seen a book called Three Primary Essences Instruction Manual? I've never seen that book. More choices. I've learned the martial arts in that book. Seol-hwi stiffened. I've never seen that book. I've learned the martial arts in that book. He couldn't choose an option haphazardly. After all, the book he was looking for was in Seol-hwi's hand.